You're on.
I'd like to call the work session to order for the Tufton Borough Selectmen, December 8th, 1:30. Karen, if you have some reason to waive, you excuse yourself when it's
Oh,
appropriate.
thanks.
Okay?
Yep, I'm all set, thank you.
Thank you for accommodating us.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're ready to begin with you, Jim.
Okay.
Thank you. How do we want to do this? Does Jim start first, or do we fire questions at him, or?
I think he's got to start first, doesn't he?
Yep, okay.
I'm sure he's got a bunch of paperwork.
I just want to make it look like I Now, actually, what I did was I tried to break out some of the areas of why I went up, the reasons why I went up in the budget. As we know, this year we had a bad year with the storm damage and whatnot, and so we fell short, and we do have some areas to make up for next year, for sure. But also, on the spring maintenance, I went up $10,000 from what I have been budgeting for the last few years, because I'm consistently over. And if you look back, you know, at 2012, 2013, 14, you know, basically, you see that I needed that. I think I've cut it back so far that now I just can't seem to get the job done for what I'm budgeting for. In 2012, we spent $35,758. 13 was 31,427. It was 565. In the last 3 years, I've been over and just struggling. I just don't think I can get the job done for what I budgeted for. That's why I think we need to get back to 35,000. Even this past spring, I was at $31,731 for this past year. So I think the 35,000 is what we need there. It's what I'm asking for, and I know that the selectmen came back at 27,000. I think we're gonna have a shortfall again there. You know, again, I will work with whatever you guys give me. I'll do the best I can. You know, there won't be any hard feelings in any way. I'm just doing the best I can. We all want to achieve the same job. I think here's the same goal: keep the roads looking good and try to keep the budget as low as we can. You know, summer, I think we gotta.
Well, let's talk about spring.
Okay.
How much do you want to budget for beaver control?
We don't have a separate line item at this point.
Well, I'm listing it as a project under spring maintenance.
Okay.
We've talked about this in the past. Is it time to spend some money on a beaver culvert, beaver pipe? If the VOTEC builds it?
It's possible, but the problem is, I don't think it's like one and done. I think it's one for each culvert.
Well, if we do one at Lang Pond Road, for example, and the VOTEC can help us out like they did with in Wolfboro, they've done one or two a year.
It's
What do
something.
these consist of? I'm sorry.
What?
What do these consist of?
There are commercial and there are carpentry made. What a beaver pipe does is, maybe you can explain it better than me. What it does is it goes underwater, connects with the culvert, and it tricks the beaver. The beaver comes to where the culvert is and packs its brush in there, and the water doesn't rise because way back here it's like a underwater culvert.
Basically, it's a section of probably, it's a few 6-inch pipes. You bring them out a ways and tee them up so that water can still get them. And the beaver don't go after those. Well, in most cases, not always, but in most cases they don't go after that. They just keep packing the same area, and they don't understand why it's not holding water. Some people have had luck.
So it's
from
like
what I've talked to.
it's like an overflow valve on, or an overflow entry like on a basin or something, so that when it gets to a certain level, it goes down the overflow.
It's like this. This is the folder on it. There's several different models.
Yeah, there is. I mean, the one that I'm thinking of that I've heard was the best was several pipes going in.
Wolfboro has 3 different variations.
Oh, they do?
Yes.
Do they have one that works better than another, or do we have success with all 3?
I haven't followed up on that.
Okay.
I mean, I think about Lang Pond Road, for example. Every season you're down there, you know, with a piece of machinery and pulling it out, and you're very economical. You try not to drive a piece of equipment for one job until you have 2 or 3 jobs down there, or whatnot. But,
Yep.
I have no problem as one selectman saying, you know, each year, let's fix a couple of culverts and let's put a couple of beaver pipes in, and
I have no experience with it. but
because
I-
you're the one
Oh,
who says that
sorry.
you trap one beaver and 200 show up for the funeral.
Yep. It's true. We've been pretty successful this year, I think, in general, with what we've been doing, but I'm willing to try something new, and if that turns out to be a better solution, then we won't know until we try, I guess. I don't know what that's gonna cost us exactly, but if the VOTEC is willing to handle it, that's probably gonna be our cheapest route.
Again, I haven't investigated gone around to other towns, and I'm trying not to micromanage here. This is stuff that I got sent.
From the people that I have talked to, I think they're still using both measures, you know, trapping, and
Yes.
it's still gonna be a little bit of work no matter how you look at it, because they find different places. When you put one beaver control device in, and
I had beaver
Move to the
control
next
under
one.
summer maintenance. I really don't care what category it goes in.
Yep.
Beaver control. But that's it.
Okay.
For example, I had it under summer maintenance with an $85,000 thing there. And what I did is I went through every one of your lines, and I went project 1, project 2,
You have 85,000 or 8,500?
85,000 for summer maintenance. I'm saying, how much are we gonna spend on beaver control? So it's a
Okay.
project.
I see what you're saying. Okay, well, it's up to you guys. If you guys want to put a line together for that, we can do that. The one area I do feel like we should put a budget line together for, though, is for crack sealing. We don't have a line item, a budget line for that. We did probably about the bare minimum we could this year. We spent about $3,500. And we have a lot of requests for that. And I do feel like it's a good idea to do at least the last 5 roads that we paved. Try to do our best roads first to ensure longevity of the roads and the pavement, you know, try to preserve it the best we can. I think we should probably put in a budget of $7,500 as a line item. And that would kind of be a starting point, because I know that in the past, we've spent $10,000 some years and $5,000 other years. So I think we're in the middle.
Would that be a 7,500 out of your 85,000? In other
No,
words,
I
be a
think that should-
project under summer maintenance?
I think that should just be a separate line item on its own, that I would add.
So, one of the things about having a separate item is it helps everybody kind of stay focused on this is part of what we're doing, and gives us a good way to track what the magnitude of impact of that project is. I mean, as I look through what's in here now, we have a separate line for cash basins, for instance. Good way to kind of keep some visibility on that
Yes.
is important. Okay, roadside mowing, that's an important component of keeping everything going. And so regardless of how much money there is associated with a particular line item, just having that line item there helps us all kind of keep a focus on it. It's something that's an important part of the total job, and in putting a budget number in there And then, but as you work against that, if it becomes apparent to do the roads that we need to do for crack sealing, that's more than that, well, that's a piece of information we gather and we go forward.
I agree. It's
Future.
Good way to track how much we spent so that we're in better shape.
It doesn't just get rolled into the, well, okay, so, we spent 20,000 on fall maintenance, let's say, so what does that include, right? It is whatever we can jam in there, but,
That's exactly what we're doing at the moment.
right,
I think,
right.
I guess we need to be a little bit more organized.
Well, and unfortunately, one of the things that happens, I think, as we go later in the year, if you've had some heavy weather events earlier in the year, you have less money to work with on doing the fall cleanup and getting stuff ready for winter, just because we've used more of the budget to deal with weather-related issues earlier on. And
Yep.
so it sounds like a good idea to me to add a separate line item for crack sealing.
I have no problem with that, but my training has been, and I go by the tech session, we had a session on sealing, and I remember having a conversation with you a couple of years ago, that there are some people think seal every road every year and whatever. It's no, you need to do the light to moderate roads, or a crack that just shows up, and you start trying every year to do Durgan Road, Federal Corner Road, Sodom Road. The truck traffic is so heavy, it pounds it within a month. It destroys the crack seal. Am I misleading anybody here, or is that your understanding?
Well, my understanding is that it gets to a certain point and you're wasting your money. If you start to see a lot of cracking, alligators cracking, it's the base is shot. You're just throwing your money away. If you see too big of a gap, again, you're probably throwing your money away. It's only going to do so much. So the rule of thought is just to do the best roads first and try to maintain with the money you can for your best roads.
And when is the best time of year to seal the cracks?
We generally do it in the fall.
And and the whole idea is that what we want to do is we want to make it harder for the water to get down into the base.
Correct.
Before it freezes, right?
Yes. Yep. This year we did it in September, but we have done it before in October. So anytime in that time frame is usually good.
Now, does crack sealing, does that include the truck, the maintenance, the material, or do those things all come out somewhere else out of your budget?
I'd like to get it all done.
Do you understand my
In the
question? I'm asking?
$7,500, yes. But yeah, that should include it.
So your thought is that that's $7,500. That includes
Everything.
all the costs associated with doing the crack seal.
Correct.
The rig, the people working it, and all that.
Let's try it. As one selectman, I say, you're willing to try something or expand on what you have here. And I'm of the opinion, like it is with beavers, if we don't try it and don't give you the resources, how can you be successful? So that's where I'm coming from. Okay, so I added crack sealing for $7,500 with a question mark next to it, okay?
Okay.
Go next.
Yeah, on the summer maintenance, basically, I had originally added the $10,000 in there because of all the ditch lines that build up with debris from all the heavy rains that we had. So we know we have some extra work ahead of us on that. There's no question about it. We do have to, clean them out and reshape them. And in the fall, I added more money in there for the gravel. We didn't actually have the budget this year to add more gravel to add gravel to the dirt roads.
How many miles of dirt road do we have?
I don't have an exact number, but I believe it's right around 6 miles.
Okay, I just came across an interesting fact, and as just a rule of thumb, that a mile of road loses an inch of gravel a year.
No doubt in my mind, between washing and then when you see dust, that's dirt flying away. There's no question about it.
And I don't know Do you have a figure of how many tons of gravel an inch a year is to our 6 miles of road? I don't expect
I
you to
do.
guess right now, but.
I do.
Now, I will say, from my brother and I hauling gravel, Evans Pit and the fact that the stone is crushed and jagged is excellent gravel and it's close by. So I say, it's not like we're bringing it in from Conway or Concord or something like that.
And they've done a very good job with their mix of gravel. It's not all the same. You can go to 10 different pits and you get 10 different results. with
Well, I
that.
didn't realize there's a difference in stone between Concord and Conway. And you want to use the Conway and wear Conway stone rather than
It's
Concord
absolutely,
stone.
yep, and they've actually got it down. I don't think
Yes.
it was the best in the beginning, but they've got a great mix now. It's one of the best I've seen.
The 5 or 6 other towns that I do business with because of the school district speak highly of Evans. And you
Yep.
were one of the first to hook your wagon to them.
But I will tell you, I can actually see the difference between the gravel that was put on Lang Pond when they did the road construction and the gravel that we use. You can actually see.
How much gravel, do you have an estimate of what you need?
Well, I had figured at $58,000 for 2 inches. So if you cut that in half, I guess you would have 27,
29.
29, 28, whatever, 28, something like that. But
And
regardless,
do you have enough money in the current budget for?
we don't.
Okay, what do you need? I'm gonna call it summer maintenance. What do you need?
Well, I added it to the fall maintenance, to be honest with you.
Okay, go ahead with.
But that's how I came up with the $10,000 increase in the fall maintenance, is one of the reasons how I justify the extra gravel. But it could be a little bit of both. It could be a little bit of fall, and it could be a little bit of summer.
What is the board's thoughts?
Well, just looking at the numbers as they run through the years here, on the summer maintenance, you've got a $76,000 average. We plugged in at 81, so it's even higher than your running average. Winter maintenance, you're averaging 160,000. So maybe there's some movement there. We're at 194,000. Maybe we take a little out of winter and put it into something else. Spring, you're averaging 30,000. Fall, you're averaging 31,000. That's from 2012 forward. So we were at 27 originally. So we're not talking about a $10,000 move, we're talking about a $3,000 move. Bringing you back to 30
For which,
for spring and fall.
I think I had it, I was
You're at
asking for 35.
yeah,
Right.
but-
Yep.
I mean, I think a $10,000 jump is too much. That's just my feeling.
So do I put down 3,500 for gravel for what account? Summer maintenance?
Well, we generally try to do, we do spring and fall grading, and that's when we usually add the gravel.
Okay. So which account do I add it to?
I don't know
Gravel.
that $3,500 is gonna do a whole lot, but what would you like to do with that?
Well, if we push you up to 30 for your spring and 30 for your fall, that's giving you an extra $10,000.
We're still gonna fall short in the spring.
Spring maintenance. You know, you've got 35, 31, 31, 22, 28.
28 and this
Fall
year,
too far
and this
short.
year 30, 32. Yeah. So,
Right, but we're consistently over. I mean, it's budget management that I'm looking for here, a little bit.
Well, it's a little inconsistent every year depending on weather. It's,
Right, but that's why you do running averages. I mean, obviously, 2015 was not as bad a winter as 2000, or was worse a winter than 2013.
yep.
You know, so you try to figure out what's a good average going forward. And
We're playing catch up for next year already, so that's why I'm thinking we need the extra
Right.
money. If we don't spend it,
we haven't had any snow yet, and it's almost the middle of December. So right now you're at 164,000, you had 180 in there, so you've got some money left there.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't mind moving it.
This year we
have
have
moved it,
46,000 left for the
But,
engineer.
I mean, we were at 25,000 last year in spring and fall. And now we're being asked to go to 35 in each one of them, which is $20,000 more. And, I mean, obviously we could spend all the money we could spend, but.
Well, the running average gives us a good feel for where we've been over the years, but the piece that we don't see there, that is not borne out on the numbers is, if we look at where we were at the end of that season in terms of the work that needed to be done compared to where we were 5 years ago, are we at the same point or are we slipping back?
We're definitely slipping back. The storm damage that we had to change all our budget for this year has put us way behind. And I think that needs to be caught up, or we're just gonna keep slipping behind. I don't know at what point you wanna get caught up, but I was hoping that this would be the year to get caught up. But also, I'd like to mention too, my first full year was 2009 as a road agent. And, it was a little bit of a learning curve. I didn't know how much money we were gonna need. So, at the end of the year, I was under budget by $20,719, it was great, we only used what we needed to. 2010, we were $934 under budget. 2011, we were $11,771 under budget. So the first 3 years, we were under budget, and I was glad to give the money back. We only used what we needed to. But ever since then, we've been consistently over budget. Not by a lot, but in 2014, we were 4,600 over budget. And then last year, we were 8,300 over budget. And I think that just started us off backwards. Right off the bat, we were kind of upside down.
Well, I think we're accommodating for that though, Jim.
You do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at $45,000 more money for next year versus last year. So even with the beaver control issues and the crack sealing and all the rest of it, it's still $45,000 more money.
Yes, it is.
But 7,500 of it was for truck maintenance, which really doesn't get us caught up anywhere.
Okay.
I mean, we don't necessarily have to do that truck this year.
Well, no,
That's-
we increased your maintenance line.
But that's
And you're only,
part of
I
it.
mean, you got $4,000 left on it this year. So it isn't as if you're overspending on that line.
Do we want to come
So,
back?
so at any given point, no, we're not gonna just revisit this. At any given point in time, there's always an article that needs work, whether it's the culverts that are in failure, which we should talk about at some point.
Yep.
So all we can do is look at the gross number, I think, and say, how is this?
Okay, so I'm
In
gonna
relationship.
make a proposal here. We're always working from incomplete information, okay? I mean, we've got a good sense of where the numbers have been, but, how are things on the ground compared to that? And from your opinion, we are back.
Yep.
We've taken a step back. You want to get us caught up, and that's good. We could, working from what we started, your request for this year was 461.4 total. What we approved was 445.1 total, right, which is, it's at 16,000
Difference.
behind it, okay? So we could spend probably all day working back and forth. How about, I'm gonna suggest, not gonna get all the way to where you're at, we put an additional $7,500 in for crack sealing, all right? And that gets us part of the way there, and go forward from there. And I would like you to have all the money you need to do all the work that we need to do. the other side of that is, we are looking at a big delta this year,
Yep.
total budget. And if we take what we approved and add another $7,500 to it, that gives you more money to get these projects done. Is it everything to get everything done in the way that we'd like to? Maybe not. Are we closer than we were yesterday? I'd like to think so.
So you're at 452?
452.6. We could spend the whole afternoon.
Oh, I
saying,
agree, you know, that we could, and you know what? It's the difference of a few snowstorms too, is what we're really talking.
Might be, we might get.
We don't know.
We might get very fortunate this year and not have a lot of snow coming up to do.
Correct. It's a little bit of.
Right, but I mean, the board's been pretty accommodating when it comes to moving money around in case, you know, for storms or whatever. I mean, what's the, so maybe we don't seal the cracks next year because we had a bad winter, or maybe we don't do the beaver thing, or maybe we don't do something else. But do we have enough money to continue work the way we have, and maybe do a little more? I think at 452 you're $47,000 ahead of last year.
Which was a big shortfall for us this year, but yeah, no, I'm
I
willing.
don't know, I
I'll
mean,
work with whatever budget.
$47,000 is real money where I come from. You know, maybe you don't get to stockpile gravel, or maybe you don't get to do one thing or another. But I think if we prioritize and we continue adding that on an annualized basis, then you're never gonna catch up in 1 year. It just isn't gonna happen. I mean, I think if you think you will, we gotta have a long talk about reality.
Well, you know what, I mean, I'm gonna do the best I can, like I said, with whatever budget you guys give me. I'm gonna work with it, there will be no hard feelings, and I appreciate that you are putting a little bit more money towards what we hope will be enough to get things caught up.
So let me put that in the form of a motion, that we add an additional line to the highway and streets budget for crack sealing, and that we fund that at $7,500 for 2018, bringing the grand total budget for highway and streets to $452,600.
A second. Under discussion, I have a couple of questions. Roadside mowing, how much do you plan on spending this year for roadside mowing?
I think I have that at 17.5.
Okay, we have 38 miles, that's 76 miles of roadside, correct? You indicated that it would take 4 weeks, that's 40 hours a week times 160 hours, right?
I think that's what we've done in the past, correct?
Okay, you were thinking of buying a piece of equipment? Where are you in that process? Because I have a couple questions.
Okay.
I think that's the way to go, but
I'm still looking into it. The one that I thought that I was buying, the morning that I was supposed to go to the machine, I got a text saying it was sold. So that was a little discouraging. But I'm still actively looking.
do you have any idea that if you purchase a machine, what do you rent it to the town for? The same price that you do your backhoes, or what's the cost? I mean, you have to make money here, or at least you have to break even.
I'd like to break even, that's my
Yes.
goal.
Yes.
I'd be happy with breaking even. So I think what we just came up with is it will be no more cost to the town than what we're paying for rent and a labor rate at the moment, so.
Okay, because I asked the question whether it's someone else or whether it's you. What is the purchase or rental rate to the town? What is the cost of the operator, fuel, and repairs? Is it all at $17,500?
You wouldn't be paying for repairs,
Right, it's a net.
yep.
Yep.
So,
But it's
and
$100.
actually, I would be paying for the fuel too, so you wouldn't be paying for the fuel, that'll come out of my end.
But you budgeted $100 an hour, so I would think that would be, I don't know, is that a fair rate for manning the machine?
It should be more than enough.
Okay.
So, I mean, 160 hours times
Yep.
$100 is $16,000.
Because that is a project that I know that you want to get done. For the last couple of years, it's been a real challenge with some of these renegade companies you've been
Hasn't
stuck
been
dealing
one.
with. Road striping. I went through and listed the roads that haven't been done for a while or whatever. And I came up with a $14,800. You have 8,200. No, I used your prices. Who decides those roads? And the reason I say striping is, it seems the general public likes it, number one. Number two is, it's calming, and I look at 3 or 4 areas in this town. I'm thinking of Dame Road, for example, where you were rebuilding that shoulder to the right every single year. Since you've striped the road, you haven't had to do any work there, have you?
It's gotten better, for sure.
Okay, I look at some other areas, Sodom Road and whatnot, but for example, I have coming up High Street, County Road, New Road, Bay Road hasn't been done for a couple of years, Federal Corner Road, and you have Durgan Road, Sodom, Ledge Hill, Tuftonboro Neck, and Union Wharf.
Yeah, some of the new roads, I guess, we've only done 4 roads in the past, and that was
With the high traffic roads, right?
high traffic roads, and it was kind of voted on by the selectmen which roads we would start with. So that's why we've only striped those 4 roads. If the selectmen vote to do more roads, we can certainly do that.
So when you pave a road, it's only the roads that were previously striped that get striped then.
Correct. Yep.
And the roads get striped every year,
Yes.
right?
They have been now.
Right.
In the beginning, I think we were alternating year to year on the yellow and the white. But now we're
It
doing.
just doesn't last very long.
It did not last long at all.
And nobody pays attention to the yellow anyway, so.
Well, under discussion, is 8,200 enough in road striping by my brother selectman?
I think we need to start with, it depends upon how many roads you want to stripe. If you want to stripe twice as many roads, you're not going to do it for the same amount of money.
Yep.
Right.
But I think the other discussion has to include how we manage the budget. So it's $8,200, that's how much striping we need to get done this year. But if it doesn't snow all winter, Jim's gonna come to us and say, I got a little left over in my winter budget, can I stripe this road or that road or this road, or can I fix 5 more of the culverts that are in failure? I mean, I think that this board needs to be able to admit to the fact that we move money around
Yes?
given circumstances, and I think, I mean, I'm looking at the gross budget. Jim's gonna manage his money the best he can over the year, and, I mean, is it your suggestion we should add another $7,000 to the striping account? I mean, I don't know